My name is Heidi Hinda Chadwick, and this week we're going to be looking at G for genius. Yes, that is correct. Okay, my loves, let's start with a quote from Mr. Oscar Wilde, who said that he had nothing to declare except his genius. So what is this thing called genius? And is it only something that a select, very specially chosen few have the right to be known as? So before we go on, I really appreciate your time and your attention, that you're here, you're listening to this woman rambling on about all this stuff that she finds fascinating, and hopefully you do too. So I really would love it if you would like this video and just say hello. Just pop in the comments, say hello. And do you recognize that you are a creative genius yourself, or is this something kind of laughable to you, or makes you go, who the hell do I think I am? And who the hell does she think she is saying this? And I'd just be curious about any thoughts you have about this particular topic. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. That'd be really, really lovely to kind of have you on board this creative genius train. So genius actually stemmed from a long time back, when the Romans believed that every single human being had this spirit or spirits that were a little bit somewhere between being a god and being a human. Which I really love this image of that, because it connects for me very much to Eros, who was the god of and is the god of desire and manifestation and coming into being. So that we have this genius that's kind of like a messenger avatar highway between God, the divine, and us. And it was seen as originally a kind of protector spirit, watching out for us, looking out for our moral character. It also represented an attendant spirit that very much in cahoots with the muse, I would say, to inspiration. Very much a force that animates us and speaks to us, kind of whispers in our bones, in our belly, in our blood, and particularly in our dreams, and in the moments of our day when we allow there to be space, when we're doing nothing. There's moments of being. So those moments of being might seem like they're empty moments in a way, but they're not empty. They're very full. They're very full of possibility and of potential. And that's kind of when our genius can make itself known in lots of ways. That's when it speaks to us. That's when these sparks come up. That's when we suddenly get hit by an idea or an answer to a question or a problem that we've been mulling over or sitting with and trying to work that out with the mind and not having come to any conclusions. So genius is, in a way, this sense of something forming from nothing. Something from nothing. And in fact, everything has come from nothing, hasn't it? Everything has come from this place of potential, and then an idea, and then the spark, and then a seed being planted, and then this taking action and nourishing and feeding and making mistakes and keeping on going until whatever it is has suddenly been presented out into the world. Everything comes from nothing, and it's only when we allow this place of nothingness in our day, in our lives, that we really get access to the wisdom that our genius holds. So I'm saying our genius, aren't I? I realise I've gone straight into there. Everyone has a genius. Everyone is a genius. That's it, really. It's kind of been sidelined and shrunk all the way down to just those people that are highly skilled and, incredibly talented and just simply like, wow, wow, wow. And that's fine, because really there are some incredible creative geniuses in the world, and thank God for that. But we all have a genius. It's there within all of us. it's the force that animates us. It moves us. It moves us into life. It moves us into action. It moves us in ways that just seem sometimes absolutely unfathomable. It's also, when we think about genius, we can sometimes believe that, and it's actually quite true really, there's a fine line between genius and madness. In fact, there is an Aristotle quote that talks about how every genius has there's some madness within there. I think there's a Robin Williams quote, and he talks about everybody has that spark of madness. Don't lose it, do use it. And it's very much connected to the fool. Again, that place of total spontaneity, total play, total unpredictable behaviour. Doesn't have rhyme nor reason. It's not terribly logical or rational. It can make us seemingly act and behave in quite rash and bizarre ways. But if it's coming from our genius, from the soul of who we are really, then it has a holiness to it, it has a sacredness and a reverence to it. And it won't lead us astray. Probably lead us on some extraordinary adventures, but it won't or can't leave us astray. But one other thing with the madness aspect is, there is this thing, isn't there, around, this idea of artists living in garrets, kind of starving and going mad. Lots of mental illness, unfortunately, does abound in histories of extraordinary artists of the world. And I think there is something around our sensitivity as artists that needs to be really looked after and supported. There's a lot about how are we supporting who we are, how are we supporting the artists of us, what does that look like, what do we need, how can we find that support, do we even know what kind of support it is that would be helpful for us. And I will upload a video on support because I think it is vital for us that we have that we're fed well, that we're nourished. I think Johnny Cash talks about how important it is for him to be fed in order to feed his creative genius. So how do we recognize a genius? There's a certain element of being incredibly in love with life. I think that is something, I am just realizing it as I'm saying this. There is this appetite for life, this love and passion for life itself. And because of that, then there's this extraordinary curiosity and this willingness to really get in there and explore. And then through that exploration to play out in life and to create whatever the hell the desire is to follow and create. There is incredible enthusiasm for whatever it is that they're doing, and the word enthusiasm has its roots to mean being filled by God. Being fused by God isn't that wondrous? So in a way, it's a vocation, a calling bigger than simply oneself. It's also making me think of these, I can't remember the names really, but I've always loved outsider art and outsider artists. I've been in love with them for about 20 odd years. I find it fascinating seeing this extraordinary art that these human beings have produced just because, and a lot of them, they very much said it's because God has told them to, including, I think there's been several cases of this where there's certain artists that have been discovered literally like living in the middle of forests or woods for years, decades, making their art, making these extraordinary art houses out of found objects, making sculptures for no other reason than because they were called to do so. That's how they spent their time. So you might have that going on in yourself, that you need to write this story, that you need to paint a series focusing on the colour green. It's something that won't leave you alone. You keep putting it to one side and then it just comes back again. It gets to a point where you go, okay, I don't know why, but I have to say yes to this. So sometimes these things that call us are our genius disguise as this creative action, as this commitment to something, this body of work that's bigger than who we are. You know, it's not about me. This is something about our genius. It's not about me. It's about an honouring of and a bowing to that which wants to move through us. It's one of the things about people we see as geniuses or label as that is they've put in the hours. They've put in the work. There's a famous quote, I think it's by, or certainly Malcolm Gladwell talks of this in his great book called The Outliers, where he's looking in a more scientific way, in a logical, practical way about what creates a genius. A really interesting book. And one of the chapters he talks about this 10,000 hours, of how people that you just assume naturally skilled or gifted or talented, they've practiced. They have practiced. They have put in, and he worked out this magical number, 10,000 hours, to get to where they are now, to become a master. So what seems effortless has actually been honed from many, many years of staying with, of committing to, of saying yes, of showing up despite all of the stuff that can stop us. And this is part of where genius comes from. So there is a certain amount of effort involved. And as a friend of mine once said, he also happened to be a musician, he kind of likened life to this jazz riff of be-do, be-do, be-do. It's not always like that. Sometimes it's be-be, be-be, do, be, be, or do, be, do. Something like that. We do all have a genius. We all have something that we're passionate about, that we're good at. Even if it is that's looking after kids or being a mum, you know, or just making people feel good, or kindness, or whatever your genius is. It doesn't have to be something that necessarily the world sees. It is an innate quality that is yours. That is yours to be recognised and to be offered out into the world as your gift. I do think your genius is connected to your gift, however humble and small that is, or however grand and exquisitely extraordinary that is. And in a way, I don't think we get to choose. We can try living others' genius, but we'll find after a while that we probably lose dedication because it's not ours. But I don't know if you've ever done this, and I'm asking you to do this now. If you have a look around your environment, where you are now, every single thing that you can see was invented by somebody. Every single thing that you can see was once an idea. It might have been born from necessity. It might have just been born from, you know, an evening out at the pub with your mates. It might have been born from that strange moment before you fall asleep when you just have this fantastic light bulb idea. But every single thing has been born from that, which then has been planted as a seed of possibility and watered and fed and so on, until it's become manifest, however long that's taken to become manifest. And that blows my mind, everything. Things that we just take for granted all the time has been dreamed up and created, invented by somebody. That's genius. That's absolute genius. The power of imagination, we all have that. We had that when we were little, we have that now. It does require us to carve out space in our day. That's when the genius office hours are, when we're doing nothing, because everything comes from nothing. Like the Big Bang, everything comes from nothing. But we have to start from nothing to begin with. We have to be blank to begin with. There's a really beautiful talk, you might have seen it, by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's called The Creative Genius, or Your Elusive Creative Genius. And she used to be a journalist, and she talks about interviewing people who have these amazing stories to tell of when the muse literally came through them, whether they were driving on a highway in LA. I think that was Nick Cage she was interviewing, and his response to that, whether it was a 90-year-old poet gardening and this poem coming through, and she ran to the kitchen, grabbed a pen and literally pulled it back because it was leaving, and ended up writing all this down and realised it was come out backwards because she'd kind of pulled it back in. It's incredible, this flight of spirit moving through us if we are open and available and willing and desirous to receive that. So how do we offer this so we're in service? In a way, this is the material, this is the thing the gift that we're given for us to be in service to life and to each other, in whatever way that is. And like I say, nothing is too small or too big. Every single part has a place in this tapestry or mosaic of life, that you and your genius is equal to every single other person's genius, and without it there, the world will be a little less bright, or a little less sparkly, or a little less informed, or a little less inspired. That might sound a little slightly Americanized and twee, but it's not. It's shining as who we are, whatever that is. It's allowing ourselves to shine, and not letting all the mind stuff get in the way, you know. The creative genius arose and has become the name of my business and the umbrella for everything that I'm offering. It did so from kind of very playful conversation, kind of jokey conversation with a friend of mine. And then afterwards I sat with those words, creative genius. And those of you that know me know that I use and work with words. Words are spells. They're very, very magical. And I sat with this and I let it drop in. So rather than the head response or reaction to creative genius, I let it drop in. And immediately there's a sense of joy. I'm feeling it being very present now. There's a sense of being very awake, being very here, of feeling quite free, of feeling very alive. Energy is moving. Feeling very syrupy, which for me is always a taste of soul. Very syrupy, very of substance. It's very sensual. I sometimes wonder what comes first, senses or the soul, or do they need each other in a way? So it's very delicious, it's very embodied, it's very much a part of. There's no separation. So when we're in our genius, we are a part of life. The mind is very quiet in this place, so there's no doubts or judgments, and there's no needs or expectations in this place. When we're in our genius, we simply are, and that is the key. Living in and from our creative genius means that we simply live as we are. Fresh, responsive, available, awake, curious, willing to be surprised in each moment. It feels like an effortless place to be and to live from. And it's you. It's not about learning anything. Yeah, there's the practice for certain skills that you want to develop to hone your craft, if that's what's being asked of you. But essentially, there's nothing you need to do once you've connected to this place. Simply be in it. There's a quietness that happens. It doesn't need to be loud or shouty or look at me or any of these places. It's just this is it. This is it. So once again, there's probably loads of things I could say more on this topic. It's fascinating, this idea of genius. But I hope that possibly you can drop in a little and just inquire as to what your creative genius looks like, what it feels like, who it is, what it wants, what it can offer, what does it need. Let me know. Yeah, pop in the comments below and let me know. And if you've liked this video, please like it, subscribe and share. If you head over to my website, you can sign up to be on my mailing list and receive a free guide to being a creative genius. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you find that space to listen to what your genius has to tell you. It's your place of power, your place of truth. It's very hot. And I will see you next week, my lovelies. Till then, thank you. Bye.